For me, it's a pleasure, Philip, to be here because I changed a little bit my channel, mixing new things and new ideas, and it's thanks to you. So I wanted just to like have a coffee and ask you, how did you get to the conclusions of the ancient mining operations? How did you get to this idea? No,
Well, thanks a lot for inviting for your chat, and hello everybody in Spain and the Spanish-speaking regions of the world. I'm not broadcasting in Spanish; I'm broadcasting only in English. So, when I moved to Moscow, I was, reading about my town, reading news about the place I lived before. So, and I said, "Oh, somebody found this," and that was the museum. That was, actually one of the best footage of mud flood evidence. Because I was walking near this museum probably each day because it was located near my office, and it had this bricked up windows when it was excavated. So it didn't even make sense because you couldn't have explained with anything because the sinking of the building doesn't work because the foundations and the walls would crack anyways. So no way that could happen with the sinking. And so it was kind of interesting because when I was living in Omsk, I was familiar with the information about the tunnels that were beneath the city, and a bunch of people that were visiting those tunnels, and those huge bricked up tunnels, spreading for several kilometers and across the river, and they were used by the Russian KGB and the special forces that were used to govern the city for their purposes, of course. And nobody was let in those tunnels. And so I knew about them because my friend had a shop in the basement, so-called basement floor of one of the mansions in the center of the city. And they were, asking the permission to dig a little bit deeper in the basement and clean it up because, a bunch of mud there and a bunch of clay, and they wanted to clean it up so they can get more space beneath their store. And so they got the permit and they started to excavating and digging it with the shovels, and they finally got to this hole, to the brick tunnel. And so everybody was descending there, checking what's there, and it was like huge tunnels there. And so the owner of the shop, my friend, went to the museum that was nearby and asked for the scientific workers to come along and with him and then check it out, what he found, because he might have found some serious archaeological evidence. But in a couple of hours, just two guys came and started to like writing something and then called somebody, and nothing really happened. So nothing amazing for them was in their eyes, and they were like, oh, we don't know what's the tunnel. Maybe that's the tunnel that was before. Who knows whose the tunnel is? So in a couple of hours, they came the huge car with the cement and concrete, this concrete truck, and poured the concrete into the hole. A couple of guys from Russian FBI, FSB came to the owner and said, wow, you don't want to go there anymore. We're gonna pour concrete and nobody's gonna go there. So just forget about this tunnel. So that's how I was familiar with those tunnels. Of course, a bunch of people also told me about this or that way that they found into those tunnel systems. And so that was kind of correlating with those, underground floors of the buildings they found in a bunch of, examples in that city, particular city. So then I started to research Moscow, and I found that, Moscow is pretty much the same, a bunch of undergrounds, bunch of underground floors. So those floors, they're supposed to be basement, also have the bricked up windows. So who would have made windows that were looking at the worms? And this doesn't matter, because when we see the hundreds of years past and people are breaking up those windows because this awful, situation to use those windows in the Russian conditions, when you have snow, when you have, rains, when you have all this dirt on the streets. So this is, nothing like, and floodings, a bunch of floodings that were preceded and recorded in official history. So that doesn't make any sense to dig yourself a problem and spend all this money to create all those huge windows in the ground and then brick them up for what? So you either just don't do them, and I doubt that those constructors, those architects in the past were as stupid as to create windows first and then, hire somebody to brick them up. I don't know. So that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, just go ahead.
I've got to tell you the truth. Before I saw the mud flat, I saw it before in many channels, and I was like a little bit skeptic. But when I got across your channel, I was like, oh my God, I think I've seen real proof, like real evidence of real mud flat. No, it's like a little bit crazy because here in Spain, for example, people, they just do like a tunnel for the metro or for a train or for anything, and you can just see how they find like an amphitheater. They find something from ancient Rome. They're telling us. I don't know if it's Hellenistic ancient artifacts or. Well, the thing is that here in Barcelona, they're still looking for the Colosseum underneath the city. And I was thinking the other day, like, wow, my God, are you telling me that nobody has seen the Colosseum before and they're just looking for it because that's the official story? It doesn't just make sense. Something catastrophic, something just together and wipe out all these towns. It doesn't make sense that there was like 1,000, 2,000 years of people running around and they didn't see anything. And just the yodo that we say here in Spain, the dirt just got up and got up and got up and nobody saw nothing. And then one day they just started to dig up and they said, wow, there's a Roman rests here. It just doesn't make sense. It only makes sense if something catastrophic altogether just came up and took everything together. And that's why when we are digging, we can see like a Roman town. It just blowed my mind up. It was incredible, no? And you can see it also in England. When you go to England, there's like notices that, well, they're making like a tunnel, no, for the metro, and here's another Roman town, and it just doesn't make sense. Nobody saw it before. Just the dirt just peeled up. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Nobody saw nothing, and I was like really blown up about this fact the other day, and when I came across your channel, I was like really impressed. I really like saw real facts. And maybe I was thinking also that, well, maybe in the Bible they are talking about the Great Flood, and maybe it's not a Great Flood. Maybe it's what we are talking about now. It's the Great Flood it's maybe the Great Mud Flood. No, it's who knows.
Well, so officials don't really deny the fact that the mud and clay is, depositing in the area after any huge flood, right? Any huge flooding, any dump crush or something, when the whole bunch of waters, flood in the area, it deposits a little of clay and mud, but it leaves the marks on the walls. And if that's a salt water, for example, if we talk about tsunami or something like this, and some huge global flood, it's definitely not a ordinary water flood. It's gonna be salt water flood, right? Because if that's global, if something's global, I don't know, worldwide, it's definitely gonna involve the sea water and the ocean water. So we're gonna have a bunch of marks of salt and water on the walls. And there's no way you can change it because all this humidity and stuff like this is going to affect the walls, and you're going to see that on the walls. And we see that during the floods, during the recorded floods, we see those marks on the walls, and in some cities they even have those small signs where the water has reached at that certain year's flood, right? And so this concept didn't work in my opinion because it's supposed to be targeted, and if it's targeted, I don't believe in coincidences. I think there is some type of conspiracy in that fact, because, or at least it was a conspiracy way before, and now it's, just the routine knowledge that people gained during all this, 200 years, and actually added information just brainwashed all the scientists, and scientists just don't see the official evidence.
Do you think it's like kind of reset?
Yeah, and I was familiar with this reset technology, and I was saying that why not, if we suppose that that's intentional, why not it's reset of the area of certain district, certain country, if that's a rather small area, a rather small country with like a couple of cities, and that's it. Why not? And miners just came up from that concept, because when you see all this evidence of terraforming in every area, for example, Spain, if we're talking about Catalonia, there is a city called Tarragona.
Yes.
You know that city? A bunch of Roman architecture there, a huge aqueduct, which is called Devil Bridge. And it's unbelievable construction, because it doesn't have any cement in it. All those blocks just, collected with some way nobody can explain it, actually. And it's, very magnificent structure. Also Roman pantheon inside of the city. And city starts with Tara. And I was trying to prove that Tara is an ancient Mayan connecting language, toponym, or a term. So tar is like collecting something. Toro also is drilling or coming through. Tara is the container for what you got from all the mining activity. So it's a huge port of the ancient times, and it's believed by officials that they were mining copper and silver there way back from the Phoenician times, from the BC, way like 2,000 years BC or something. So that's impossible to ignore the facts that, if the city is called Tara and it has mining evidence, and it's a port of huge, logistics area where you send all these goods that you mine, and then, send them to the centers of this civilization. And of course, Torah itself, the term Torah, which is like something that's, pushing, it's also connected to that, because we have Russian word tormos. Tormos is also pushing of something, like a brake of a car. And so torsion, spinning, drilling energy that is, given energy, given the vector of movement, and many more. Torpedo, also spinner, event that is spinning and pushing it in the water, right? So tornado, something that is spinning, moving and can destroy. So, I mean, this is all ancient language, and no wonder you find in all those areas all those Roman architecture. In fact, that's antique style. It's even called officially antique. And when you find who are ants is an ancient nation because of ancient, it's just the term that they used way back in the days, and a bunch of them is connected to the Black Sea area, Turkey, Crimea, Georgia, Caucasus, and in fact, white people are called Caucasians in USA. I don't know why, but they called Caucasians. So, and Great Flood, which is also connected to the legend of Ararat. Ararat is right in the Caucasus Mountains near the Turkey and the Armenian border. So right now we have a bunch of toponyms there too, and they all connected to this Tartarian period. Even the Caucasian Tartarians lived there. Crimean Tartarians live there, and Bulgars, which are right now Tartarians in Russia, they call the Tatarstan region. So all those maps of Tartaria are real, and Tartarias were everywhere. Tartarias are the lands of miners, and that's what I was figuring. And all those star cities, star forts that are located everywhere are probably the outposts or the ancient logistic, stations of those miners. That's what I figured, at least.
And I would like to ask you something that, do you think that maybe Rome and Greece were part of ancient Tartaria altogether?
No.
They've got the same gods, maybe same kind of styles, but
They knew that Tartarus was something that's underground, right? And they were, calling the Tartar, which is like underground. So Tartar is the mining infrastructure actually was underground everywhere. So that's why the term Tartar is, something like hell, like underground, lands or countries. I don't know, but there's nothing underground except that what miners do, what they drill and those tunnels that they create and all those underground bases, huge cities underground, right? So this is how it's going, and nothing you can change that. And that's what was back in the days. And you find a bunch of underground cities from ancient times in every country, Spain, Turkey, Greece.
Yeah.
You'll find those undergrounds. In Paris, there's a bunch of undergrounds, right? So
that corresponds a little bit with the mining operations, obviously. And when you talked about Tarragona, here in Catalonia, down to the south in Tarragona, I went to Tarragona, and over the ancient Roman blocks, there's just underneath the same as Baalbek. There's huge blocks. They must weigh like 1,000 tons. It's incredible, and I can say that in Tarragona, it's the place with more money from all Spain. We take petrol, we take gas, so it makes sense that that was a main central operation of mining operations. No, it all makes sense in that place in all Spain, in Tarragona.
yeah, of course.
Okay, the star forts. The other day, I saw a video with you that you were talking about star forts, but it looks like somebody from elsewhere or from up, no, like Nazca, are making all these star forts, no, these fortresses, and even here in Spain we've got these fortresses. Who and why? Have you got any idea, or have you got a theory, maybe?
Well, what I was, checking, trying to compare the mining infrastructure and the mining methods to the possible, architectural design of star forts, and I find this connection between the gas mining and oil mining when they have all this fracking, and it kind of creates the shape of, some four type of star, like little star, four shape, four angle star, and there's a bunch of four angle stars. Actually, this is a simple fourth shape. All those simple fours in Russia and everywhere, probably they have those simple four angle fours in every star fort, and that's probably where the star fort was powered with the energy. It would probably a gas or something, a gas source, which could be used for illumination. It could be used for igniting generators and powers. And as I was, trying to research, I found that turbines, and the gas generating machines that could be working, proceeding, and creating electricity were created in the period that supposed previous mud flood of the 19th century. So people knew this technology and could have been using that in the gas production and mining before the mud floods.